up, YouTube? Welcome to Versus. I'm Samantha. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, but I now live in California.
And I am Ryan. I am originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota, but now I'm in California.
So we got a little northerner versus southerner thing going on. We have a bunch of questions in here that should provoke some interesting conversation.
Ready to get provoked, baby? Let's provoke.
Let's provoke some conversation. Yeah, go first. Okay, I'll go first.
We already have North versus South going. Did you say the Pledge of Allegiance in school?
Yes.
I did too.
Yeah.
Although I remember my senior year of high school, there were like always 4 kids who everyone would stand to do it and they would just sit there stoically, pledging their allegiance to no country nor man.
Yeah, they would get yelled at in the South.
I mean, it wasn't encouraged, but it was allowed, and there wasn't ever like a confrontation about that. But there was also never a discussion about it either.
I remember the first high school I went to, some people left out the under God, but for the most part, everybody at least stood up for it. I was gonna say, I don't think any teachers like pushed it heavily, but I actually think some did.
How do you feel about it as an adult?
I haven't said the Pledge of Allegiance since high school.
There's no other place that I've ever said the Pledge of Allegiance other than like every Friday at school.
Every Friday?
Oh yeah, only every Friday.
Oh, we did it every day.
Wow.
Every morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a part of the morning announcement.
It's a weekly pledge.
As an adult, I really have no connection to the Pledge of Allegiance anymore. Like you said, I never say it anymore.
But as a kid, I don't think I had a connection to it. I didn't have a connection to the Pledge of Allegiance based on the thing that I was saying. I had a connection to the Pledge of Allegiance because it was a rule. I mean, it was the same way that I had a relationship with getting in line. I think we've beat that horse. And what do we got?
Let's see. How did you learn about the Civil War?
Interesting.
A nice North versus South.
I mean, the first thing that I have to acknowledge, I went to an insanely white school. Insanely white school. All of these things were taught like this ancient history of America, these long past wounds that we've healed from. There was always sort of this tone of thank God this is over, or thank God we don't do this anymore kind of thing. And so the Civil War was sort of taught to us like the Revolutionary War. There was a problem, the good guys won, and now the problem is solved. When you view the Civil War through the same lens, you miss a huge sort of chunk of the story, obviously, with the effects and the long and still open wounds of slavery in this country.
I think a lot of people and kids in the South had this experience. I grew up in Franklin, Tennessee. The Battle of Franklin was one of the bloodiest battles in the South.
Right.
My house that I grew up in was essentially in the middle of the Battle of Franklin. We would be doing gardening projects and find bullets in our yard. Franklin preserved a lot of the history of the Civil War. That being said, they preserved a lot of the Confederate history of the Civil War and the Union side. Growing up, I was like, okay, you know, both sides are reflected, like it's history, so they're preserving it. We went on tours for field trips. And
they do a lot of crazy stuff down there. I mean, did you do like plantation tours and stuff like that too?
Yeah, that was gonna be my next point. In middle school and also on a Girl Scout trip, I remember my social studies teacher had told us, you know, it was a plantation. The tone of the field trip never reflected what I think it should have reflected. This is a very sad place to be.
Sam, I think this is a question specifically for you.
Oh no.
How do you pronounce this word? C-R-A-Y-O-N. You draw with them, you color with them. What do you call those?
A crown.
Crown!
Yes.
C-R-O-W-N.
Crown.
I think you dropped this, queen. Crown. Crayon. Well, actually, this is interesting though. This word is crayon, and I think that is American standard. You said crown.
Crown.
Which is insane. But when I was growing up in Minnesota and still had my accent that I have beat out of myself, I said crayon, like crayon apple.
Crayon.
C-R-A-N.
Psychotic.
Not even close to as bad as crown. Crown. It's a different...
Crown.
Crowns are over party.
Stop. What was the biggest culture shock coming to California from blank? Minnesota, Tennessee. You know, I grew up in a small town. Franklin's just south of Nashville. You smile and you say hi to people you pass. That was the biggest culture shock for me coming here. Like, I would smile at people on the street and they wouldn't like tell me I was crazy or something, but they would like give me a dirty look. Or even when I would try to make conversation with a barista at a Starbucks or like a coffee shop on Melrose, they would act like I was kind of like wasting their time or just like wanted to get the transaction over with. So it's just that Southern hospitality, not here.
Well, yeah, I mean, I will say California is not that bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
like,
come across it sometimes.
I've
but-
spent a lot of time in my adult life in Southern California. I've also spent a lot of my time in my adult life in New York City, Manhattan. It's very different. Don't smile at me, don't look at me, get out of my personal space, don't talk to me, give me your money and get the hell out. Like, that is the New
Yeah.
York state of mind. California isn't that severe, but it's certainly less hospitable than where we grew up. I think that you know, it's literally a term, Minnesota nice. It's a cultural term that describes the Minnesotan sort of socio-relational way with which we all interact, and I think that sort of idea of Minnesota nice, that Midwestern homeliness. No, homely means ugly. That Midwestern attitude, I think, is very akin to like Southern hospitality.
Yes.
You know, that idea that in Minnesota, it's actually expected to smile at your neighbor, to have a conversation with the coffee barista. It feels that in these big cities, it's actually expected for you not to engage. It's almost expected to divert your eyes, to not say anything when you pass someone on the street. What role did religion play in your life growing up?
A fairly prominent one in the
Yeah,
South.
in the South,
They
for
call
sure.
it a Bible Belt for a reason.
Okay.
Nashville's right in the middle of it. Yeah, I think it was just expected that religion was a part of your life. You know, everybody went to church every Sunday.
And Christian?
Christian, yeah.
Uh-huh. And
It
what
was,
kind of Christianity? I mean, I know in Minnesota, it's like Catholicism, Protestant, Lutheran.
Yeah, in my world, it was mainly non-denominational. You know, I heard some like Southern Baptist, Presbyterian, but I never really understood a lot of the differences because just what I grew up with was just non-denominational Christianity.
Which is kind of like cool Christians,
Yeah,
right?
like
the pop music and the, you know,
yeah, like the cool worship services.
hip young preacher.
Yes, yeah, cool young preacher. From the most part of what I experienced, like non-denominational Christianity growing up had been the most accepting of like the LGBTQ community, which also gave it kind of the like cool Christian. I remember being referred to, or me being referred to, like the pick and choose Christian. And it's like, no, I think I'm just actually looking at the Bible in context of when it was written and all that. But yeah, so religion was a prominent part of my entire life in Tennessee. My parents were missionaries overseas, and they were very involved with the church that I grew up going to, and were kind of like figures at the church. So a lot of the like showing up every Sunday was kind of like oh, the Feckety family is here.
I was born and raised Catholic. The expectation was you go to church every Sunday, no exceptions. I started to kind of protest it in high school because I was tired and
Yeah.
because I thought sleeping in was more of a priority than going to church, and that was not an option in my household. Now, that being said, culturally, I think the sort of Minnesota nice thing is at play here, kind of in a passive-aggressive way. You just didn't talk about it. It was presumed that everyone believed in something. It was presumed that that something was Jesus and the Christian God. Kind of a different balance between the cultural mix and the mix of, you know, what it meant for my family, but definitely played a prominent role. And I think the stricture of that prominence ultimately is what led to me getting turned off by the whole thing once I left.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Here we go, last one. Make it a good one.
Let's see.
But
How do you pronounce B-A-G?
currently, I pronounce it as bag
Sometimes.
because I came to California and I was crucified for all of the weird ways that I said things. But
Yes.
In Minnesota, the thing that you carry on your back is a bag, and the thing that you eat with a hole in it for breakfast is a bagel. So
I'm sorry.
The A and ah pronunciations are switched.
Bagel.
Bagel and bag.
Big.
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 Bagel. Bagel.
Well, there you have it.
North versus South. Who won, you guys? Leave it in the comments
Leave
below.
it in the comments below. How would you even score this? Who knows? Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you missed the first episode of Versus, go check it out. It's right there.
Like and subscribe, you guys.
YouTube.
YouTube. Thanks for
YouTube.
watching. View count.
Bye.
Bye.